So there's about 26 of you who have participated in the poll. We'll give you another minute. So again, while you're doing the poll, I want to thank all of you for either waking up early in the morning in South America, or spending some time in the middle of the day, and those of you in Asia coming to the end of your work day to spend some time between 4, depending on where you are, in the late afternoon to join us. So my name is Wendy, and those of you who may not know me, I would introduce a little bit more about myself. But definitely thank you that you either trust me or you trust a friend to take some time today to join me and my friends here. Okay, so I think we've got 77% of people voted. So let's have a look. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results so we can know a bit more about who's with us in this audience. All right, so we have quite a lot of you excited, so thank you. Some anxiety, I'm grateful, hopeful, some distracted, but thank you that majority here said you're excited, so thank you. Tons of work waiting, so thank you again for putting your work aside for an hour and a half for yourself, because this is about you and your stress, your roles, and your questions. Okay, so thank you. And a few of you are hungry, so feel free that if you have video off, or even if you just want to go off and take a snack, please by all means feed yourself. Okay, and thank you for those who have no distraction, put things aside, so thank you very much. Okay, so what else? What roles do you have? Okay, so quite a lot. Team leader and sisters, hey, that's great. I know I'm a sister too. I have an older brother and a younger sister, and I know Aisoon, who's here. She's like on a boat. She's a co-facilitator with me on the Resilience for Growth program. She has 4 sisters, Aisoon. Okay, yeah, oh, there she is.
Yeah.
She's in a boat in Turkey. Yeah. On her holiday, but she's joining us. Team leader, very good. So if you've got questions about managing the kind of stress or challenges in your family as a sister or as a boss, please by all means send, because I mean, if as a sister also means I also look after my parents. So sometimes all these multiple roles can add challenges and stress to my life as well. So thank you very much for sharing on who you are. Yeah, so I'm going to turn this off. Okay, so
I think we are good now.
Yeah, we're good. All right, thank you. All right, so so the kind of roles that I have right now is I write books, I run a business, I'm a consultant, I have 3 kids in university, and I'm also a stepmom. And I'm very open to say about that role because it does also bring me stress, challenges, and joy. Yeah, being a stepmother. But I want to also share that the resilient part of today is based on not just the psychological frameworks that I've learned, but also my own personal experience when I became a single mom and my kids were really young. So having that kind of role, being a single mom, career, working as a school psychologist. So imagine, right, I was trying to raise 3 kids on my own, but also responsible for the mental health and results and performance of 1,800 teenage boys. And then 17 years ago, I started a business, right? Bringing leadership development to companies and schools. So what I want to ask you now, if you have a piece of paper, is to then share what are your roles. So I did a very quick mind map of myself on Saturday, and that's kind of like me and my roles, and even that question mark that there might be roles that I'm not aware of, or I don't even know what to call it. Some women have told me they also have roles like cook, driver, cleaner. So what are your roles if you write it on your own piece of paper? And of course, if you want to put it on the chat, like what is the role that you find that is the easiest? So let's start with the easiest, right? And then what would be a role that would be quite difficult, right? So if you would say what's the easiest role, and what would be the most challenging role, or maybe not most, right, but a challenging role. And find that I think being a mom is both challenging, and sometimes there's moments of ease and peace, right? So that's definitely mine. But if you've got if you think, what are your roles that cause you ease and cause you challenges, right? So if you like challenging, being mom, okay, thank you, D. Okay, being a mom, oh, sounds like being easiest is being a daughter. I guess your parents just feed you. Actually, with my parents aging, I find that being a daughter brings those joy and challenges as well. When I think about my parents, my siblings are not in Singapore, so if there's anything to do with my parents, I feel like I need to be there for them. I like Rachel. Easiest is the dreamer, right? And I like dreams. So dream goals, like you might be thinking, what would be a goal you have always been dreaming about? So when I added dreamer, right, it's like, to me, writing was a dream that I made come true. And dreaming could also be going back to school. So a part of me is always dreaming. Rosa, driver. So why did I ask you? Because with the roles, then you might go, okay, what would be the stresses in those roles? Okay. So I'm going to keep the identity anonymous, but I want to share that there is one question that came to me during the registration. So as some of you may know, we ask if you have any questions to send in. And there is this question, how do I know my stress level is at a manageable level? So this woman says she still sleep and eat well. So how would she know that her stress level is within her limit? So the fact that you can sleep and eat well, there's no issues in eating or sleeping, give yourself a pat on the back, okay? Because usually sleep gets distorted if people feel like they're really, really stressed, okay? So to answer this question, I thought about different ways of answering this question. So I hope that through this question, the rest of you may also get some pointers as well, all right? And of course, what I share might cause more questions, so feel free again to go into the chat to type in, or you can wait for another 15 minutes and then there'll be a time when you can actually unmute yourself and ask. Okay, so one of the ways that I look at stress, okay, one of the ways is this, all right? So if what I can also do is, if you want to, I'm going to copy and paste it into the chat so that you can know that if you want to, you can go and download this PDF. All right. So I acknowledge the university for putting this together. So research shows that when there was a research done where doctors were looking at patients that were going through cancer treatment, right? And then they realized that why is it that some patients were able to recover better and some not? And one of the things they looked at was what kind of life changes had the patients gone through in the last 12 months. And so they started to use this stress test, okay? So if you look at some of the items, right, in the stress test, and you've got impact score, right? So if somebody experienced the death of a spouse in the last 12 months, they get 100 points, right? If they go through a divorce, a separation, they're 73, 65. So if you look even at this and on your own, you don't have to tell me, right? You start going, okay, you know, death of a loved one, or personal injury or illness, even getting married, which is a happy change in your life, could cause, in this table, a stress score of 50, right? Fire at work, marital reconciliation. You might go, oh, that's a happy thing. But again, it is a change because it's something you got to get back together again, right? Retirement, change in health, pregnancy. So that's the top 12 life changes. Yep. And if you look through the other items, then I look at right now, right? If COVID-19 happening, even those of us who did not experience death of a loved one or separation, just looking at this, right? Change in responsibility at work. We are no longer working like the usual. So give yourself 36 points, right? Change in work hours or conditions, right? We are now working maybe more than before or maybe less than before, and we are not working in the office. So give yourself another 29 points, right? Change in living conditions. Suddenly you're at home with everyone. So for me, 3 of my kids were in university, 2 were overseas, actually 3 kids were overseas. COVID brought everybody else, and you think, oh, I was very, very excited for them to come back, very anxious for them to come back. And then having so many children, change in living conditions, I deserve 25 points, right? Change in number of family get-togethers. Those of us who are used to having parties at home, so easy to go visit mom, dad, family, relatives, suddenly we don't have that many family get-togethers. And if those were important to you before COVID, that change, give yourself 15 points, right? So even if you look at what's going on right now, these were numbers that, according to the stress index, impact you. Yeah. So it's fine that if you are sleeping well, eating well, everything is fine. I'm not giving you this test to make you more stressed, but more about understanding yourself. Sometimes when people come to see me for coaching and they're wondering why they feel anxious or why is it they can't perform or something is going on, I actually ask them to look at the last 12 months. Because if there were some of these events going on, understand that your immune system might be affected, right? That you might feel a bit snappy, because these events do take a toll on your mental health and also, you know, what you think about yourself. It just takes a toll, all right? So how the scoring works is that if you have certain numbers, the research shows that these were some of the likelihood, okay, for illness, right? So when I find that my immune system is low, I also pause to say what else is going on in my life. Right now, what are some changes and challenges, and then I need to then take certain measures to help myself mentally, spiritually, emotionally, socially, physically as well. I hope that's helpful, right? So I'm going to stop share for now. Before I stop share, I just want to give you a definition of stress, and then we can talk about it. Okay, so when I was studying psychology 30 years ago, okay, I remember my psychology writing this definition and stuck to my head. Stress is the perceived inability to complete a task. So if I think about my mom's role, right, role as a mom, I think I cannot do it. I don't think I can raise my children as a single mom. Now that would be the definition of that stress, right? Oh, I have a new client. I don't know if I can handle the client. That, according to this psychological definition, that's stress, right? So this is a way to even look at our the way our thinking can also bring about stress. Yeah, so we talk about life changes. Now I'm looking at your thinking, right? I think I cannot do it. Okay, so if you can take down these notes, or if you want to take a picture of the stress definition, I'm going to leave it there. And then with that, I'm going to see if there's questions that you may have along the way. So I'm going to pause now. All right. And stop share and ask if there were questions or thoughts or comments that you'd like to share. And you can use the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Andy, perhaps I can start off with a question while
please
typing in. So as women, we hold so many multiple roles, right? And one thing that part of the makeup as a woman often is about caring for others. So my question is, how do we honor all these multiple roles and also draw healthy boundaries?
Thank you. And the word there is healthy boundaries. Okay, those of you who feel like that is an important question, if you want to do a little reaction to say, yeah, thumbs up, something that you also experience, right? Where you feel like you need to create, thank you, healthy boundaries. Okay, I think that's very important. I think I'm speaking to mostly women here. And somehow we were brought up to look after other people. Right? I think the messages that we get is you look after others. And so when we become a leader, we become a worker, we're still sister and daughter, and then you get married, a wife. everyone has got expectations of you. Now, the boundaries are also about being able to create that around you, because it's so easy to have to sort of get sucked into other people's expectations, right? And some of us, if we're not aware, also has a certain narrative in our head that I need to please people, right? And so if I don't go and buy food for my parents, they're going to be mad at me. And then they're not going to be happy with me. And then, oh my goodness, I'm a bad daughter, right? It can go spiraling down that way. Oh, my child forgot to bring his books to school. I should quickly drop everything that I was going to do for myself, take his book, rush to his school and give it to him. Because if I don't, his teacher's going to be displeased with him, and then he's going to be angry with me. I'm going to be angry with myself. I'm a bad mother. So again, sometimes our narrative goes that way, right? So what the first step is to be aware of what your thinking is that is causing you to actually let go of those boundaries, those safe, healthy boundaries. Okay, so you start with yourself. Then, of course, actually, what is more difficult is to set the boundaries and tell people what your boundaries are. Now, Emin, I'm just curious, right? Did you ever learn to set boundaries as a kid? I'm not going to say like when you're younger.
Oh, I am a sister. Out of the three of us, I'm the most obliging one.
Yeah, are you the middle child, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And so those of you who are middle child, they also show that there are some family constellation where somehow the middle child always feels like they are the ones to be most obliging for some reason. Yeah, for whatever reason. Yeah, so my daughter, who is 21, and my son, who is 25, actually taught me very recently how to set boundaries. Because I think as a mom, I could also invade into their space, right? I will come in and demand that they, go out with me, or they do this for me and do that for me. And actually, my kids, for whatever reason, are more assertive than I was when I was growing up. Said, "Mom, we need to set some boundaries." And I said, "What kind of boundaries?" So they said space and time, right? So, for example, what are their space that I need to honor, and what kind of timing I need to give them. Like if I want something from them, give them a certain space, a certain time frame. And I think for women, we need to do that, right? We need to plan our lives, plan whatever we can to an extent, and then actually express and share those plans with others. Because if they are not aware of our plans, they could easily just assume we are very free. You notice it, right? If we don't tell them that we've got meetings, or we've got this, or we've got that, and this is what I'm going to do, they think, you know what, it's just one grocery trip. Can't you do it? What's so important about what you do, right? So I think we do need to set our plans and communicate to the people around us. Not every single plan, but enough so they know that these are also the tasks that we have on our plate. Does that make sense, Eamon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then I'm wondering, are there any other questions that women may have?
We don't have any questions in the chat just yet. If you do have a question, feel free to post it here. Or Wendy, are you also keen to get people to unmute themselves and ask a question?
Yes, please unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. Okay. Okay, but don't worry, I've got other things to share. So maybe by sharing, then more things would come up for people, right? Okay, so I'm going to ask if Aisun is ready to also share a little bit about resilience. If you are, just turn on your camera. Okay, so I would share here. So we were at sort of like the midpoint Q&A. So if you have any more questions about stress, the definition of stress, please feel free to type into the chat, okay? Now, we talked about stress just now, and then I want to talk about when you want to manage stress, there's also another level, another layer of mental demands. and emotional demands. And that is the type of setbacks that you might be going through, right? So stress could be, I don't know if I can handle this particular task. Setback is that there might be an event that causes you to have some negative thinking about yourself or others, or there's grief that you're still carrying. So resilient is about a person who's able, right? You build that inner capacity to bounce back from the problems, from the setback, from the challenge, right? And you leap forward towards possibilities and greater wisdom and courage. So you don't just stay stuck and wallowing in the past event, yeah, and over and over and over again, and get even more and more down. Are you able to then, process those problems and events and difficult changes, and then be able to create new possibilities moving forward? That is what we call resilience, right? I'm going to invite Isun, because one of the reasons that we are also sharing this program is that there's a program that I've designed for women that lasts 5 months, okay? And Isun is one of our co-facilitators. And then after she shared about this, I'm going to go into some processes that you can use for yourself to build your resilience, okay? So, Isun?
Yeah, thank you, Wendy.
Hi,
Thank you.
Isun. Thank you for joining us from your holiday.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you. I'm in the boat. I hope I don't have any internet disconnection. Yeah, thank you. Enjoying the south of Turkey, the lovely beaches all around.
Yeah.
And this is how I'm coping with some setbacks and trying to move forward through these tough days. And this Resilience for Growth program, yeah, we've been running this together with Wendy for the last 2 years, I would say. And with the COVID-19 popping up this year, we have been very agile, and we moved our program into a fully online version. And this is the third time that we have run this with Wendy in APAC and for EMEA. And I am very happy to say that we just have started one cohort in South America as well. Yeah, it's just started. Yeah, this week we've started. So
Hola.
amazing women. Yeah, amazing women joining us. And I will just briefly talk about the flow of the new program. If we go back to the, yeah, okay, thank you, Wendy. So this program is running in the time frame of 4 months. And in fact, we have many women, I see the names, I see the faces who've been with us through their journey of resilience. And by now, we have run this in 4 different continents. And I'm very happy to say that we have more than 50 women who's been going through this journey with us. So it's really 3 half-day online sessions, 1 half-day per week. And these are followed by coaching sessions and also peer learning from each other. So it is a very compact program. And as I've said, I mean, I would love to hear from women who've already gone through this. I mean, if there are, yeah, Wendy, perhaps we could ask some of our participants there.
Yeah, participants, you should be asking questions. Actually, I got a question from someone from R4G Women that I will address later on about stress. But really, actually this event was the outcome of one of the participants in the July cohort. They at the 3rd module, they're like, oh, we're gonna miss that next Tuesday, we can't get together and learn together. And then I sat there and go, well, okay, why don't we have another session where you bring a friend and we can share some concepts and get some reflection going, right? And so it was actually because R4G, you women wanted to get together again. This is why we're creating this. And for this, I'm glad that there are many other women who are joining us as well. Okay. So if R4G women, you want to unmute yourself and say hi. By all means, you can add R4G to your name so people know that you are one of the participants. Okay. Right. Isun, do you wanna? Yeah, and so we have got some testimonials.
Yes. Yeah.
And
yeah. And I mean, these were the lovely times we had with some of the groups we've been going through. But we are also developing, learning through this journey as we go through with you all. So yeah, Wendy, this is more or less what I want to share, and would love to hear from the participants as we move through this conversation.
okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to stop share. Thank you, Isun. Thank you, and enjoy your time in the boat. Thank you for taking time with us.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. So I have two questions that has come up, right? One is about, one was asked, sent to me privately. It said, is there such a thing as positive stress? If yes, what are the advantages and disadvantages of it, right? So, okay, so let me put myself in here. Okay, so yes, there's such a thing as positive stress. Thank you for asking that question. So what it is that sometimes there's a task, right? There's a new goal that you might want, and it's causing you to get out of bed full of energy to go and sort of like work on that goal. Okay, so therefore it's stress that arouses you. So if you look at the physiological part of stress, okay, it is an arousal, right? The heart starts to beat faster, you get really like excited and energized to do something. How you interpret the arousal in your body, that physiological arousal, will make it positive or negative, right? So imagine I am going to write a book. So there'll be days when it's a positive arousal, right? I'm like, whoa, I can't wait. I got an idea. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write, right? And I'll write, and I've written columns, and I've written short books, long books, you know, different things, right? But there'll be days when I wake up and I get the same arousal, but I interpret it as anxiety. I'll be like, oh no, I don't know what to write. I'm not good enough at, you know, I have a writer's block. So the same physiological arousal, right? The heart beating, there's a little constriction, the stomach, you know, sort of like churning. We can actually interpret it as positive. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get energy from this arousal. Or it can be anxiety. I don't know. I don't think I can. And then it becomes sort of the negative stress. Okay. So if you can reinterpret your arousal as, this is a goal that I find it's important. And so there's advantages to the positive stress as well. Okay. So help yourself to reframe from a negative stress to a positive stress. What is it about this task that is important to you? So the book, my book could be, well, it's important because it's going to help parents, right? And then if the task is so big, one of the ways is to then chunk it, right? So a book can be a very huge task, and I'll go, okay, why don't I do the chapters? Why don't I write down what are my chapters? Okay, if I can do that, that's a smaller task. Okay, there is one chapter that I can spend a week thinking about. Again, I break it down into a smaller task, right? So when you're able to do that, a scary type of stressor can become a manageable stress. I hope that helps, right? Break the task down so that the smaller task, you can go, okay, I think I can do this task. I think I can do this task is also a can. So sometimes I look at a task and I go, part of this huge task, there's a little task there that I don't have the skill to do. Who can I ask to help with this task? And in the long run, if this small task is important, how can I learn and better myself so I can do this small task out of this big task, this small task better? Okay, so for example, doing all this online, I wouldn't know how to do this in January, right? I can maybe attend a meeting on Zoom, okay? But I think I'm still learning. But this task is becoming important, right? How do I do things online? How do I engage people on Zoom? So I needed to learn how to do this. So if you look at your roles, right? And look at the tasks that's in your different roles as a mom, as a sister, as a wife, as a team leader. What are some of the big tasks that stress you out, that goes, oh my goodness, I don't think I can do this? And say, okay, how can I break it into smaller tasks? And these smaller tasks are more manageable and I can then do it. And then you create positive stress over those small tasks. I hope that helps. Yeah. If you want to send me a private message to say, yeah, Wendy got it, then I know that I have made the point. Okay. Okay, Weena, thank you for your question. You says your mom has 3 daughters, so you're one of the 3 daughters, and you're staying with mom, so you're often expected to be responsible for mom's welfare. It's reasonable to say 1/3 obligation would be sufficient, but I assume that you do maybe at least 2/3, right? If not more, okay? Because you're the only one staying with her, right? At times I feel stressed and overwhelmed when mom keeps nagging. Thank you. Okay, so what would that question be? How do you manage it? Oh, maybe that's where the question of what Emin was sharing about boundaries, right? My question back to you, and it's not just for Weena, thank you for being open and authentic with your situation. I think it resonates a lot with those of us who grew up with siblings, right? And the siblings are not around to help us with our parents, okay? I actually have learned that I need to communicate with my own siblings, okay? Because I'm in Singapore, my parents are in Singapore, my siblings are not. Of course, I see more of them. I'm also the beneficiary of their free food, okay? But it's also that I am the one that they would turn to if there's any difficulties here. So I decided that, and my parents then would go to my siblings and tell them about the problems that they're facing, right? So they paint a very nice picture to my siblings, but to me, I know everything, okay? So then I would actually go behind my parents' back and actually tell my siblings, right, to say, hey, this is what mom and dad are going through. I think we really need to help them think through this, right? And then I engage my siblings to give me advice, jokes even, right? Sometimes what I need from them is an understanding and an appreciation, and to give me some sense of humor that, okay, this too will pass, we all laugh about it. So I engage my siblings a lot more, okay? Even though they are not living with me, not living in the same country. So I hope that helps, that really engage the siblings, be vulnerable. So sometimes I even go to my siblings and I say, look, I have 4 kids, you know, and now with the mom and the dad, it's like having 6 kids, right? You got to help me. You got to go and cheer my parents up, you know, or do this with them, FaceTime them because they are lonely, you know, so things like that. Be very specific on the request that you want to ask your siblings. And that's the same advice I'll give to everybody else. I think as women, we need to know what we want, the support we want, and actually say it. Sometimes we just let it simmer inside. I wish they would call mom and dad more often and bring them out more often, but we don't say it. And because we don't say it, they don't know that we want it, then they don't meet our expectation, and then we get upset and disappointed. So know what you want, know very specifically the kind of help you want, write it down if you need to, and then go to the people that you want the support from and says, I have a request for support. I'm going to ask this of you, and please, if you can, help me with this. Okay? Hope that helps for those of you who are listening in. I feel like a radio aunt agony, so it's okay. I am used to this. I'll just keep talking. Emin, how are we doing? What do you think?
Yeah, we don't have other questions in the chat. I'm just wondering whether anyone has questions.
Yeah, I have a private one. So again, I won't name the person. Okay. But I'll read the situation. All right. So she says, how do you handle the growing up of our son? So those of you who have children or grown-up children or no children, but one day they're going to grow up. They said, I have 2 grown-up sons in university and polytechnics. So those of you who are not in Singapore means they're around 19 and early 20s. Okay, so these 2 boys. Each demand different attention, and yet they want their own privacy too. How do I be a better mom to them? And sometimes it's quite hard to talk to grown-up boys who have their own thoughts. Yes. Okay. So I resonate with you because my 2 sons are 24 and 25, and yeah. So what I do, Rex, part of this, I'm going to go a bit deeper. Okay. Again, it starts with self, right? When I realized that my children are growing up, I actually experienced grief. So if you look back at the stress index, the family members are changing, right? They no longer need me to do the things that I used to do for them. Maybe there's more freedom on my part, but the relationship changes. The relationship change. And for me as a mom, I needed to grieve that change. So grieving is not about crying all the time, but just to acknowledge that something is changing and I feel sad. So being part of a resilient person is to acknowledge that these emotions are valid. So I'm going to start with then yourself, right? What are you feeling? And there are 3 emotions that are quite key is angry, sad, and scared. I call it the S, okay? Right? So I felt angry. There's a part of me that goes, why must they grow up? And angry that they don't want me to just barge into their room and demand attention from them. I was also sad that their relationship is changing. They no longer, by the time they were like 12, they didn't want me to hold their hands. I'm also scared that I'm going to lose that relationship. So first, I start with myself. So if you are going through that kind of family changes, it may not be about the grown-up sons. It could be your child is 6, your child is 12, or something else is changing in your family. Acknowledge that it is a change, and you're going to need to go through the transition of embracing the change and dealing with your emotions about it. Then I realized the old relationship I have with my sons has ended, but it doesn't mean I cannot create a new one. So once we've dealt and accepted that the old relationship has ended, I can then go into a new beginning. So what is the new relationship I want with my son? So the mom who has written to me, and those of you who are also having that question, would be, my question to you is, what is the new relationship look like? So if they're old enough, it could be, hey, we're going to go for lunch. We're going to have an adult to adult conversation. I'm going to share with you what I'm going through, and you're going to share with me. We're going to have an adult conversation. No longer mom and a child. This child, right? And this mom is like trying to, but if you can see them as the adult that they are, that's a new relationship. And then you can set goals for yourself that in this new relationship, how am I to be a support to them, right? So things like they want internships. So I listen to my sons talk about what they want for their internship. I, ask them to talk to my friends who might give them advice on internship. So I realized that it's different topics as well, right? So I hope that helps, yeah, with your question. There's a question about learn the art of saying no. If there are requests that you have difficulty to say no. Okay. You know what, Emin? Do you think this could be something that I bring the iceberg in? Let me try to bring the iceberg in. Okay. All right. How many of you know the iceberg? Put up your hands. Okay. And then I'll try to sort of like tailor it to this situation here. All right. Are we ready for the iceberg? So this iceberg could apply for yourself, and even for the mom trying to understand the 2 grown-up sons. Or if you are team leader, understand yourself and also understand other people. Okay, so what's in the iceberg? All right, so I'm going to because this is it's a very different, it's not like a workshop where there's only 10 of you and you're telling me things. So I literally need to do this talking to myself, or maybe Emin, you can help me with this. Okay. So somebody asked me about being able to say no, right? So I'm going to do this. Can you see it? Okay. So you want to be able to say no, right? Set boundaries, or even talk to my sons, maybe like adults, okay? Like they are adults, okay? So you have certain new behaviors you want to have, right? So you might want this, okay? All good. If you agree with me that these are some of the things that you might want, just give me a thumbs up or something so I know that you're still listening in. Okay. Thank you, Lily. Okay, Lily from Manila is listening in to me. Thank you. All right. So thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you. Okay, I've got some people who are, thank you, Paysan. Is it Paysan? Paysan, hi, Paysan. Thank you for being here. Okay, so you may have these actions you want, right? But sometimes what happens to us is that we have these actions instead, right? Like say yes to everything. Oh, what happened to my thingy? Okay, let me see. Can I do this? Okay, so what could happen is that we say yes, right? And then what we do is we don't take care of ourselves. Okay, and then so we do not take care of ourselves. Yeah, and maybe the kind of behaviors that we show to our children is that we do not listen, right? And maybe we still treat them like they are little kids. Yep. So this is what I call a from to. So a from, like right now, maybe you are going, no, I don't give time. I don't do self-care. I keep saying yes to everyone. And in fact, I get feedback. I don't listen to my children. I don't listen to my team. I'm just, not a very good communicator. But what you want is being able to know to say no, set boundaries, and to talk to people, communicate better. So what happens under the iceberg, right? So if you look at what could be causing your behavior to say, no, don't look after, look after everybody else. So there could be everyone else is more important. Now, a thought like this is not like a bad thing, right? A lot of us, I know I grew up in a family that goes serve others, right? Service is an important thing. Service, okay? All right, my family value is service. You serve others, you serve the community. Service is a goal and a value. But what happens is with something like this, right? It's a strength and a value. Without consciousness, it can overtake us, right? To a point where then I am not important. Yeah. So it could be everyone else is more important. I am not that important. Yeah. And then interestingly, maybe because of that, then you just say yes and try to please, right? So you might be trying to please. Your need to please is very high. Okay, so I'm just going to put down here that maybe you have a need. Okay. Right? You need to please. It's very high. They might go, but Wendy, wouldn't need to please and being service and everyone being important help me to be a better listener and talk to my sons better? No, because you also have another layer of other expectation. But then I expect my children to obey, to do what I say, or to serve me. We have our expectations as well, right? Or maybe because you feel like you have pleased everybody else, we also have needs for affirmation. Right? So just as you have needs to please, you may also have another layer where you have needs for self-esteem, need to be acknowledged and recognized. And sometimes when you don't get that need for affirmation met, it would go all the way up to your behavior to go, I need it. Now, people ask me what passive aggressive behavior is. It's where it comes from childhood, where many of us, and I'll say it was like that for me too, right? Till I grew older and I did a lot of my psychology work and all that. But I grew up where my needs and wants were not given that much attention, right? And so I have learned that my needs are not that important and I better not ask for what I want. Okay, so that's what the past that I needed to overcome, because that became the automatic negative thoughts that's in me. And then I bring these thoughts into my roles, right? As a mom, I'll be like, oh, other people are more important than me. I got to like not exercise, right? If I lead my team, oh my goodness, my team needs my help. Okay, you know what? I don't need the sleep. I put it aside, right? So we bring our thinking into our different roles. So whether it's a mom, a wife, a leader, a powerful entrepreneur and business person, inside us is still that same iceberg. Need to please, need for affirmation. Yeah, certain thoughts and behaviors. So when we look at, actually I will show you, like there are, here, right? There are automatic negative thoughts, like other people are more important. I'm not good enough. I need to please others. Those are the automatic negative thoughts. Okay. So in order for you to shift and transform, it's not about, okay, I got to learn to say no. You look deep inside and go, okay, if I have a need for affirmation that's not being met by my family, by my team, by my boss, how can I get that need met? So don't worry about these boundaries first. Look at yourself inside. And I'm going to tell you a real story. It's very fresh about need for affirmation. As a mom, right, I was, doing a lot of stuff during this COVID while running the business and all that. And my kids started to give me feedback, okay, about when they were young, I didn't do this for them. I didn't turn up at the CCA event day when he was 7. And as they start telling me all this, a part of me that goes, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I mean, when you were 7, I was RI psychologist. Some boy might be having a mental breakdown. I was helping that teenage boy, and my own 7-year-old son was trying to find his CCA by himself. Oh my goodness, guilt. I felt guilty, right? Then my daughter, and they all start saying all these things that were happening, right? And then my daughter actually came to me just like 2 nights ago and said, Mommy, am I really mean to you? I say these really mean stuff to you. And I said to her, well, I'm still, being here to listen, right? I know that you guys have all these grievances. You need to like let it out. So let it out, right? Then she goes, Mom, how can I stop being mean to you? And then I looked at her and I go, okay, you can write 5 things you like about me. And she's a 21-year-old, right? I said, you can write 5 things you like about me or you're thankful for. And she said, so I actually asked for affirmation. After being bashed by my children, right? Like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. I needed that affirmation. And I'm a psychologist, right? I am, successful in so many different ways, but deep down, I wanted my kids to tell me what they like about what I did or what I do right now. So as women, be bold to go to your friends, to your family, to say, at this point, I have need for my self-esteem to be a bit boosted up. I need to know, and I'd like you to tell me 1 or 2 things that you appreciate about me. And when you're able to do that, you are going to feel actually less stressed because you know your strength, you know what you're good at. And that knowing of what you're good at helps you in your self-perception, right? So then in your own performance, instead of going, I'm not good enough, I am not good enough, right? Into this. See, I can't even spell. I'm horrible. What kind of writer is it? I cannot spell, right? You can go there. Or, okay, I am appreciated. Okay. Right? You can go, see, I am enough. I have strength. My strength is confidence. Right? So when you start to fill your mind with the affirmation, so you said, okay, how can I meet this? Yeah. And the need to please is also about the fear. There are fears in there. In my working with women and men, when I coach them, there's some deep fear of rejection, deep fear of failure, right? I'm a bad, fail as a wife, fail as, mom, fail as a leader. We have it deep down inside us. It's not wrong, okay? We are not robots, okay? So we need to know that, okay, there are times when my fear for failure is going to be triggered. That, oh no, did I fail as a mom? When my first husband walked out on us, I went into the whole, I must be a horrible person, right? I failed in my marriage. I failed as a wife. Oh, I must be a failure, right? So I had this, I am a failure. Loser, pathetic. That can be very, very strong. Now, if you carry that kind of thinking into every single role, then you're going to be even more stressed because you're trying to not fail. But if you go, you know what, there's also other thoughts that I can put into myself, right, that I learned from setbacks. Yeah. I am trusting instead of I don't trust anyone. Then actually the I am trusting is very useful in that relationship with your sons. Because when I realized that when their father actually left us, I had this thinking that I don't trust anyone. Especially men. Yeah, I don't think there's any men here, so I can really be vulgar about it, right? I can say, I had believed that men are beep, 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 cannot trust them. Then I realized that if I am the psychologist of RI boys and I don't trust my students, I will not listen and I won't be a very good psychologist. And I have two sons. If they tell me, Mom, I did my homework and I don't trust them, I'll be like, yeah, sure not. And with such negative response to them, it's going to affect my relationship with my sons and with the 1,800 students. So I needed to also change my belief of do not trust to I am trusting. There are people I can trust. There are boys and there are men that are trustworthy. And I should look for the evidence that there are these people. May not trust everyone, but at least start with a few. And when I am now having a relationship with my grown-up sons, with my second husband, right, which I want to make sure I trust, that belief that I trust them, they are worthy of trust, actually helped me to talk to my sons like adults. Yeah. So something that is unseen inside me, trust, helps me talk to my son or not. So if they feel that I'm not trusting them, they actually call it out and say, Mom, are you not trusting us? Don't you trust us that we know how to make the right decision? And when they question me like this, I need to pause and say, okay, it's my old fear of trusting that is causing me to react to them that way. But actually, if I take a step back, I take a look and look at how responsible they are. Yeah, they may make mistakes, but they're going to learn from those mistakes, right? And then, you know what? They make more good decisions than bad decisions. And I should trust them. And because I'm trusting, the way I talk to my sons will also be like they are adults. Okay? So same thing, the example of sons, it can apply to your own team members. If you don't trust them, the way you talk to them is going to be very negative, right? You're going to bring in more guilt, you're going to bring in more distrust, and also affect their sense of security. Okay? So I hope that the Iceberg, applied to sort of this two situation of boundaries as well as relationship with others, help some of you who may have similar situations in your life. Okay? Is that useful? Give me some feedback. Right? See, I need some affirmation, all right? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so thank you. So as I see some of the comments, I am, what was my thing? I am Sorry about my typing. Okay, so I think that was about, okay, let's see. What are some comments here? Okay. Many times I don't share my concerns with others. Imin, was there anything that jumps up at you from the questions and comments?
We have Gabriella saying that she's glad she finally understood the iceberg.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have questions.
Yes, please.
Yeah, hi Wendy. When we're going through Iceberg, a lot of time, because we need a lot of I think we have multiple roles and we are so busy all the time, and we really need affirmations. And sometimes, in certain situation, we go through the iceberg, and the iceberg exercise is actually you doing it yourself. And sometimes when you're doing it yourself, it can be going to, if we are not careful, it can be going through, like for my own example, I tend to go to extreme self-introspects. Like you have a positive and negative, but sometimes we really need another person to go through the iceberg with you rather than, so what if there is no one? Is there any tools? Because when you just demonstrate to us how you go through the iceberg, and because you know what you know, as a trained psychologist, you have good questions that you ask yourself. But when maybe we are just laymen, and we are so full of the emotions and we are so confused, what are the simplest thing that we can ask ourselves in order to slightly get us back, like or bounce us back to have a healthier process of going through the iceberg?
Thank you for that question, Cindy. So if you were to look at the iceberg again, and of course some of you may be more familiar with it than others, okay, so I'm going to use this one, right? So if you look at the iceberg, the kind of questions you want to ask yourself is this one, right? What am I feeling? Well, what am I feeling? Because you want to, that's sort of like in a way more on the so the what question, right? So if you have a behavior like you're snapping at someone or you're not feeling well, then what are you feeling is an important question. What am I feeling upset about? What am I feeling sad about? So I journal a lot. Yeah, so what you ask yourself, what are you feeling upset, sad, scared, blah blah blah. So name it to tame it. Yeah, you need to name it. You gotta go, okay, is there something in my body that is like, okay, so name it, like, okay, my chest is a little bit, so awareness, self-awareness, right? Then of course you might go, okay, what are some of these thoughts, right? Maybe they're the automatic negative ones that is like, I am so bad, whatever it is, right? You know those thoughts, right? And then you might go, okay, is my goal clear? What is my goal? Right? This is a very good one. What expectations are not met? Right? And be true, like, okay, as a wife, yeah, I expect my husband to call me every day. Okay, send me flowers. Okay, not met. Then disappointed, right? Or expectations that people should drop everything and listen to me, or expectation that they should say thank you, I appreciate you so much. Those expectations not met. Now, if the expectations are not met, have I voiced it? Sometimes, we have expectations, but I hope you can see these words. Is it clean? Is it all right? Yeah. Okay. So, are your expectations clearly stated? Sometimes we women can also be like, it's quite cold here. I'm actually quite hungry. I haven't eaten since breakfast. We state stuff like that when we actually say, can you please turn off the aircon? Let's go out and eat. We don't state the expectation. We expect people to meet our expectation. You might go, oh, my team should know what to do. But actually, if we say, team, are you clear about what we're supposed to do, what you're supposed to do? Do we check expectations. Yeah. So these are some questions you can ask yourself. Priorities at this moment, which one is more important at this moment? Because the priorities for this week could be there's a piece of work that really needs to be done and the exercise needs to go into the weekend. But next week, I got more space. I can put my exercise as a priority for next week. Needs and fears, it's my need for food. I asked you just now, who's hungry, right? So when you are able to pause and ask yourself these questions to say, what's really going on here? Why are my needs not met? And some of you are very good. I was reading, right? When you said something like, somebody said, oh, my need for control, right? So sometimes we have a need to be certain, right? Control. And that we bring that into our business, we bring that into our team leadership, we bring that to our parenting, into our relationships, and say, I need to control everyone. Where is that coming from? What if you don't have all the answers? What if you have some uncertainty? Are you going to be okay? How can you be better at uncertainty? Yeah. So you start to talk to yourself. I talk to myself all the time. I talk to myself since I was 15. That's why I became a psychologist, right? You got to spend time talking to yourself. I have journals where I would sit down and literally write what I'm feeling and upset about, what I want, what my fears are. And by being able to write it out, I see what I'm expressing, right? So yeah, so you may not have always a good friend or a coach around to ask you those questions. But if something that you learned today could be like, okay, spend time asking yourself, what is this role that is demanding? What is the role demanding of me? What is the role of the mother? What's the expectation there that I feel upset about, that I'm not meeting? The role of a wife, a role as a leader, what is it? What is it that is in this role? So if you look at the iceberg, I know that I said you have one iceberg, but if you say there's an iceberg, right, of being a leader role, right? People are expecting certain behaviors of that leader. And yet at the unseen part, oh, I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm afraid of all the uncertainty that this COVID is happening. I'm so bad. I haven't checked in on my team. Oh my goodness, the roles that set for me to be a leader, I don't know if we can actually achieve those during this COVID. Oh, I know what, I need people to be more engaged. Your leader role also produces all these under the waterline. Your family role as sister is also going to produce this under your waterline, the things that is not seen but is driving your behavior. Yeah. So I hope that helps, Cindy, and those of you who may have that, like, how do I actually coach myself? Yeah. Okay. So I hope that you realize that for this session, right, those of you who had joined other sessions, this is definitely a lot more free flowing. I've got some slides that's prepared. It's like, Q&A, right? I realize that people, need to ask questions. Okay, so are there any other questions? How do you strike a balance as a private one between 3 kids and work? Okay, is that something people want to know? Okay. Okay, Eamon, what do you think? 3 kids and what do you see working for me? You kind of hang around me.
What's that? Sorry?
You know that you hang around me sometimes. So how do you think I do to strike a balance between 3 kids and work? And then I'm going to find the life map.
Actually, I wonder how you do it as well. I think 2 things come to mind. One is that you're very self-aware, and that partly comes from I guess the work that you do and the inner work that you've already done on yourself, all this while, right? Like, I know you believe very strongly in being able to do it before you teach it to others. It's just that self-awareness in terms of, okay, what am I feeling right now? And I think secondly, also just being very clear about your goals and your boundaries, you know, what you're willing to accept and what needs you have. So
Yeah.
observed. Yeah. But I can understand some of the challenges that the rest of us might feel. Actually, as you were speaking, I was just reflecting on my own journey in terms of my needs and drawing boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And one of the challenges that comes up for me is the moment I've spoken my needs and the words leave my mouth, I feel guilty because
Ah.
I'm so used to actually playing the role of being the person who makes sure that everything is okay. I'm the provider, you know. So yeah, I was just wondering, you know, what would you say, you know, if someone was to ask you, okay, how do we address the guilt we feel in terms of trying to be responsible for ourselves or to speak our needs?
Oh, okay. So guilt can go under the waterline. And guilt is I did something wrong. Okay, so those of you are taking notes, okay? Guilt means I did something wrong, right? It's wrong for me to speak my needs. It's wrong for me to not rush with my son's book to his school. Guilt, yeah? And guilt can set a lot of energy. I'm going to distinguish guilt from shame. Shame is I am bad, right? So at least guilt is about an action. Okay, I didn't do this or I did this. Okay, all right, and action. So maybe I can compensate for the action. Shame is a bit scarier because shame would go, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm a bad mom. I'm a bad wife. I'm a bad. Okay, so it's better to feel guilt than to feel shame. Okay, just so that you know. But how do you deal with guilt? I think the internal language too is about, I know that I did choose not to do that because there was something else more important. Or I speak my needs because I'm important and I know that when other people ask for help, I will jump and I will help them. But right now I am asking for help and I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm actually going to feel grateful that there are people I can ask for help. And of course, after I ask, it's up to them to say yes or no. Yeah. So guilt, I've learned that with 3 kids, guilt would just set me. So even now, right, as I said, they are going to, oh, mom, you never come to my CCA when I was 7, that kind. I admit that, yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad and I'm sorry that I didn't go there and I was counseling some boy in RI, and I didn't go there. I'm sorry for that, but I refuse to wallow in guilt. I refuse to go, I'm a bad mom and I must have been done so much, because what can I do about the past? I need to separate myself from guilt. And I go into my own internal conversation about, you know what, I've done a lot for my sons and my daughters and my stepdaughter. So you know what, maybe I'm only 9 out of 10. Okay, one time I did not turn up, but I definitely turned up 9 times. So I give myself a pat on the back and I said, you know what, it's separate. My son can complain, I can deal with that, but I'm not going to let that complaint affect my self-esteem and make me feel guilty, right? Okay, so you kind of need to talk to yourself. All right, now I also have this thing to share. So if you have many rows, this is where I'm going to share my life map. Are you seeing my life map thingy?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so this is like what Yimin says, I preach only what I practice, right? So in order for me to share something, I usually do it with, on myself, with many other people before I would, teach it, right? So a life map, for many years, I do a life map. So if you look at my life map, this was the one, oopsie, okay, drawn in January 2020 on my iPad. And then when COVID happened, I actually redrew it in March because I realized that some of the goals that I set in January is not going to be realistic. I'm not going to be traveling. My dreamer part, some of these dreams are not going to happen. Even income part is not going to happen because of COVID. So in order to manage my stress and my anxiety, because if I look at those goals, I'm going to go, oh no, I cannot achieve those goals. Oh shit, oh sorry. oh dear, right? Then I get all stressed out. But by resetting my goals in March, it helps me. Okay, so it was March to June. I make it a little bit more realistic. How many Resilience for Growth program? What are the goals for my husband? What are the goals for my children? Definitely a lot simpler. And then when it came to June, I drew a new life map for June to September. Okay, so if you want to take a picture of this, We also do this in Resilience for Growth as a homework. I can give it to you, and then if you choose to come to Resilience for Growth, you already done one homework, right? One less homework to do. But what is this is that, like, the question about 3 kids, work, and my work is diverse as well. There's writing, there's consulting, there's many different things. So what I do is I actually plot it out. I take a piece of paper, or now I use my iPad, I put my name in the middle. So you can see, right, the roles of the wife is relationship with spouse. Role of a mom are my kids' goals. So the kids' goals is not about just me, right? But I'll go and actually listen to my children, and I say, what are your goals? What's important for you? So then I realized the kids who, my sons who are looking for internship, my daughter who wants to do this, my stepdaughter who wants that, and I actually write it down into my life map, right? Okay. And then I also make sure I have self goals. So the health, the learning, the money, the comm service, the others, the spiritual, all that is my self goal. And what is important for women is we need to start looking after ourselves. We need to go, you know what, these are important parts of me too. So when I asked, and I actually didn't go all the way down to that thing, but how many of you put one of your roles as carer for self? Who looks after you? Was that Emin? Did we see any? I think it was my old post, so maybe I need to go look into the recording, right? But definitely, so we got to set those goals, right? You know, and so I set goal, money goal, spiritual goal, money goal, learning goal, all these goals, right? Because I'm important. I'm important. I will look after myself, so I have the energy to look after everybody else. But if I'm not energized, then, you know, I'm not going to bring the best of me into my role as wife and mom and friend and leader and writer. Yeah. So if there's something you can do today on your piece of paper, is to write down a few of your self-care goals. And then go tell your best friend, tell your spouse, tell your team that, you know what, I'm going to be walking 3 times a week. Or, you know what, I'm going to be doing this for my learning. Because those are important goals for yourself, right? Then you can set career development goals. So that's what I did, right? So every year I would have goals for my career, business, you know, different things about the business. So everything is on one piece of paper. And that helps me week to week. I know that and people think, oh, is it like you spread yourself equally? No, there's no such thing as spread myself equally. It's not like, you know what, I have 100%, then here 10%, and 20%. It changes. There'll be seasons where one gets more of my energy and time than another role. There could be weeks where this particular role, like the role of mom and 4 kids in my house right now, that could take up some energy, right? So women, we got to let go of the expectation that we got to do everything equally well, equally all the time. Sometimes we need to make choices, and that's where my life map helps to say, you know what, this week, this is something I can do for my husband, this is some things I can do for my kids, and this is all these things I'm going to do for myself. And this, so I actually use my life map to plan my weeks and even my days. Okay, so I hope that helps. Yeah, to sort of figure out, that's one of my secret, okay, of how I raise children, write books, and do all this. Yeah, and remember, I need to, at times when my kids were very young, the role of mom means I don't want to travel. Okay, so when I started doing consulting work, and my clients were in other countries, I actually said no to some of those work until my kids were older, and then I would take day trips, or at least I go and then I quickly come back in a day, and I take the first flight in the morning and I come back the next day, the last flight, right? So I'm away one night, but by the time they wake up on the 3rd day, I'm there for breakfast. But those were when they were young. So we changed. Right, by now, when I fly and they're like, oh, you're back, mom. Oh, okay. Right? So we all have different seasons of our lives, right? And we make adjustments and make changes as we go along. So the life that will look different year to year. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, so we're almost towards the end, right? And thank you for staying on all this time. I would bring back this to see what else have I planned for you guys. So what have I got now? Okay, yeah. Okay, so if you're interested in resilience for growth during the feedback, just put the tick and we'll contact you. Want to really talk about the one approach. Actually, if you ask for my book, which we will give to you freely, the one approach is also explained in the resilience book. Okay, so this book, yeah. All right. This is a physical copy, but you can get a PDF copy sent to you, emailed to you. Yep. So after all this conversation, I want you to know that when you are under stress or when you're going through a difficulty, you can either go, you know what, my problems is very big. And with that thinking, my kids are not talking to me, I'm so unfit. The problems get bigger and bigger and you actually spiral down. Whereas if you can wake up in the morning, right? And instead of focusing on the problems, you focus on what you can create for the day. So I'll ask myself, what am I going to create for the boys in RI? What am I going to create for my sons and my daughter when I come back? Now, when I wake up, instead of focusing on the COVID and that my husband is in London where people don't wear masks, right? Or my kids are, telling me all this stuff, I actually focus on, okay, what am I going to create for this Zoom session? What am I going to create with my daughter? After I ask her to write five things she likes about me, and I write 5 things I like about her. What am I going to create for the day? And then you fill yourself with positive energy, right? So instead of the negative stress, there's a positive energy. A smile comes on and it affects others. So instead of looking very, very stressed, you can go, you know what, I'm very, very blessed. There are challenges and there's changes and there's demands, but you know what, I am blessed with the strength and the values and previous experience, and I'm going to bring all of me into those new challenges, and I know I can make a difference to other people. If that is your thinking, you are able to move from stress to resilient ability to bounce forward and create possibilities. Okay, and then everyone can do this. Instead of feeling stressed, by the end of the day, instead of going to sleep going, oh, more things to do tomorrow that I can't do, pause and say, actually, what did I do well today? Right now, I there was a period of time for about 3 months. That was my exercise every night. What did I do well today? I must write 3 things. Okay, even if it means, I took my daughter out for lunch between meetings. I did well. Yeah. So like today I can go, okay, I did a Zoom well. I spoke to myself for an hour and a half. Yeah, right. And something else. So write down what you did well. And that helps you with your perception of ability. So your perceived ability of yourself goes up. You start to acknowledge yourself. Acknowledging yourself, A, for acknowledgement. You can also, at the end of the day, have a thankful diary. What am I thankful for today? So the thankfulness could be about what you did well. Thankfulness could be about what other people did for you. And as you fill your mind at the end of the day with such positive experience, with gratitude, you go to bed rested, blessed, not stressed. The next day you wake up and you think about possibility. If you can create this kind of habits, you'll find yourself less stressed and more resilient, being able to face the new challenges. All right. So with that, I'm going to ask you, what is a resilient habit that you want to start this week? If you could also put it on your chat, that would be helping others. And then we're going to also send you the feedback form, all right? Because the feedback form will also ask you, what does resilience mean to you right now? So again, if you have a new resilient habit, what would that be? Okay, I'm going to think of myself too. What would be a resilient habit? Settle your self-care goals. Thank you, Lore. If you want, you can send it to me, huh, Lore? Thank you. Thankfulness diary. Yeah. So if you want, this is another book I wrote for kids. So you can create something for yourself or even for your kids. And again, I did this with my sons when they were 6 and 5 years old and wondering what's happening with their the family, right? Being kind, thank you, set priority, believe in yourself, thank you, journals and talk to yourself, thank you, set healthy boundaries. And please share what those boundaries are with people important in your life. Take a minute in the morning to walk in the garden. Fantastic. Thank you, Gabriella. Deep breath and look forward to the day ahead. Thank you for the good work that you are doing, Gabriella. Being kind to yourself. Okay, so with that, if you could go to the feedback form and indicate, if you want a copy of the book sent to you. If you're interested in R4G, we can send you the brochure. If there's anything else that we can help you with, do for you, please indicate in the feedback form. And also comments on what you like about this, what else is missing, so we can also organize other sessions as well. Okay, and once you are there, I mean, we have you on database, and if you want to, we can always let you know when we decide to do another impromptu Zoom. So remember, this was created about 3 weeks ago because some women, you women, you know who you are in July cohort, that you say, yeah, we are addicted, we want some more. So there you are, you created this, you asked for it, and you got it, right? So you spoke your needs, you asked for something, and because you asked, pretty much 40 other women get to be on this Zoom. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for joining us and taking time out. So have a great lunch, a great dinner, a great breakfast. Thank you, Aisum, for joining us from the book. Yes, Lisette, it's like being in another cohort. Yay. Okay, thank you, Sarah, for calling in from Europe, and yeah, thank you so much. And once you finish your feedback form, feel free to go. We will keep in touch with you. And for everybody else here, bye.